Good evening, everyone. Sorry about the delay. We just took some time to set up things here. A very warm welcome to all of you. So in this era, we have become an expert in filling our minds with so much of an information, living in the past with what if scenarios, even with future what if scenarios, and bringing a lot of anxiety and disappointments and whatnots to our life. And we forgot to live in the present, be mindful of the present moment. And we have an eminent speaker with us today to give us a practical tips and tools and techniques to tell us how to be mindful of the present. We have Dr. Usha Vasthare here with us, who's a founder of Yogakshema, a rehabilitation and wellness center in Bangalore. She has done her doctorate and she's been a faculty of Temple University School of Medicine in Philadelphia, where she worked with a lot of doctors in clinical research projects to help people with Parkinson's disease and things like that. She has conducted hundreds of improving quality of life. And her approach is a very unique approach where she brings her neuroscientist hat as well as her knowledge in Vedanta and brings that practicality of how do we apply things to our life. So without much further ado, I request Dr. Usha Vasthare to take us through the mindfulness practice. Thank you.
Thank you, Vardhini. Pranams, Swamiji. As I was saying, I'm at a stage, it's not even about sharing my knowledge in neuroscience, truly sharing my joy, understanding science through Vedanta and understanding Vedanta through science. However, I try to keep today's interaction and discussion mostly at the scientific level. And anytime you have questions, please stop me. And then if you want to combine Vedantic concepts with this, then you can ask. Otherwise, I'll try to mostly the scientific perspective, if that's okay with all. Let us try and see if we can make it as interactive as possible. So you may stop me at any time and ask questions. And if I deem it necessary, I will answer it either right away or we can wait until we get to the stage to answer the questions. Let me ask you a question to begin with. Okay. Why are you here? What are you expecting out of this today? May I ask?
The art of learning mindfulness.
Okay.
That is my understanding. I'm very clear.
Absolutely.
Yeah, being present all the time.
Okay. Yes. You'll definitely get that. And both these. Anybody else? Anything else that you're expecting out of this, or what would you like? Okay, absolutely. Absolutely. You will definitely get that, because I'm going to try and present my view, my experiences, and also not just the way we see either on the internet or in the books, but for direct implementation purposes for everyday lives. How else can we see mindfulness? You will definitely get that. Absolutely. Yeah. Anything else? Anybody? Okay.
The art of applying mindfulness to your daily life.
Yeah, exactly. That would be my purpose.
Sure.
Read a lot about mindfulness in theory.
Yeah.
But when it comes to practicing, so we're often stuck for ideas.
I know. It's a very simple thing, but difficult to practice. Really, really simple, but difficult to practice. So we will know why it is difficult to practice rather than knowing how to practice. We all know how to practice. Why is it that is so difficult? We will know. So absolutely. And then we will take certain examples. Whatever we do, it is not just about sitting cross-legged and then observing our breathing. whatever we are doing, like I saw just now, people are doing flower arrangements, cutting flowers, and then arranging chairs, all of this, is it possible to do mindfully? Even such things, we can go into that minute detail and see how it is possible. So absolutely, we will get into that. And then you can stop me, as I said, any time and then ask, how do we do this mindfully? We think we're doing it, but not really. Many a times we know, because of the after effects of how we feel about the work that we do, right? So we will get to that time. Absolutely. So
probably we can put otherwise, like you're consciously unconscious.
yeah, and the idea is to be unconsciously conscious all the time. That being conscious has to become our habit. Absolutely, Swamiji, that is what we're trying to do. Make this mind, being mindful as a default mode. Right now, our default mode is being non-conscious.
Mindful, actually.
yeah, filling.
The mind is full.
Exactly. So we will see. I think I'm sure we will all have some fun as we go along, as I take some examples, and then we will see how it goes. I'm not able to change the slide.
Next.
Okay, got it. Okay. Who doesn't like a story, right? Does not matter what age. Even at my age, I like stories, both listening and telling stories. So we will start with the story. You probably know in context. Let us see what this is about. Is it Zen master? And this person, as you see, he comes to learn from this Zen master. And as you know, as is the custom in Japan, the master serves tea to him. Probably have heard the story, but you would know. Okay. And the Zen master serves tea to this stranger who comes in as a student. He starts pouring tea, and he keeps pouring tea. The cup is full, and he still pours tea. The tea overflows into the saucer. He still keeps pouring tea, and it overflows into the table. And by then, this person cannot stop. He says, "Master, don't you see the cup is full?" And at that time, the Zen master stops pouring tea and then says, "Absolutely. Even you need to empty your cup before I can fill up your cup." So we all know about, I can assure you, I'm not a Zen master and you're not a stranger, but we got the essence of the story. We all have some idea about what mindfulness is. Let us set that aside and let us start with a beginner's mind. We will get to that, what beginner's mind is later today and tomorrow. So let us start and see and understand mindfulness from a fresh perspective. Let us try and have a clean slate, and then so that we can absorb. I like these two quotes. So we're going to see mindfulness as from a different perspective altogether. For me, this is not just mindfulness, It is also about spiritual life, is nothing but this.
Could you please read it for us?
Oh, yes, you cannot see. Yeah, absolutely. My destination is no longer a place, rather a new way of seeing. It's beautiful. It's a totally different way of looking at things. This is also what spiritual life is all about. Nothing new, the same old experience, the same things what we do every day. We need to look at it from a fresh pair of eyes. And as we do, we say, make path as the goal or journey itself as the destination. Then because all of us are happy when we reach the destination, right? But if we make journey itself as the destination, we can be joyous as we travel along. So that's one of my favorite quotes. And then the real,
And whose quote is this?
Marcel Proust.
As you said that you like to be interactive,
Absolutely.
We wish to inform you that a very similar quote is there by Rabindranath Tagore, who says that Pother Prante Amar Tirtho Noy, Pother Dudhare Ache Mor Devala. So if you don't know Bengali, so
No,
maybe,
I don't.
you can help to translate.
So what she's saying is that the quote says that so the journey is not so important, but basically in the process of the process of the journey itself would lead to the spirituality.
True. Yeah.
Destination.
Make path as the goal, journey as the destination. Absolutely right. True. This also, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. Same thing said in a different way. I don't know who has said it. It's one of the popular quotes from the internet. Okay, so I'm going to tell you why we are here in a general way, because as I said, this is all about from a scientific perspective. Science is about commonality. It's common for everybody. And it's also about reproducibility. If we do it in such a way, this and this way, we will get certain results. And if we are not getting those results that we want, then we need to fine tune, that's all. So science is all about commonality and reproducibility. So let us see why we are here. I'm going to ask certain questions myself, and then let us see we can answer this together. Because already Vardhini said, if only things, right? In the past, if only I did that. So it's a continuation of that, Vardhini. So what is it? Why are we here? Those are some of the common challenges that we all go through in life. What is it? We are already happy. We are here to be happier, right? Or it could be for some people, we used to use the word, even I used to use the word balance when I was at your age. But these days, I like to use the word harmonizing, not balancing career life and personal life, but harmonizing our personal and professional life. And for some of us, it is to make sure that our kids are going to be better off than us, right? That is all prayer of each and every parent. We want our kids to be better than us. And to improve our interpersonal relationships, because I always say interpersonal relationships are the most important, even more than our health itself. We will see why maybe tomorrow, if some of you are coming again tomorrow, we will see as we go along, you will also see why. Why is it interpersonal relationships even more important than health? I will leave it as an open question. You can think about it and then we can answer as we go along. And we want to find more time to do things what we like to do and what we want to do, not just what we have to do, right? So we want more time. So these are some of the challenges that we go through. And definitely we want to be less stressful. So if that is the case, what are the possible solutions? If only solution. If only things go our way, we are going to be happier than what we are, right? Who does not? If everything is going our way, we will be happier. And how can we harmonize our personal and professional life? As long as things are under our control, then we are okay. We can balance out anything. We can even harmonize any slight change as it happened now for the past 2 years, not even few days, right? What happens? Is it possible to harmonize? Even forget about harmonizing. Is it possible to even balance it out? We know how tough that is. And how can our kids be better off? As long as the kids are at the right school, right college, right job, then we know our kids are going to be better off. These are the if only solutions we keep giving ourselves. And how do we improve our interpersonal relationships? If I only had more supporting spouse, more supporting kids or colleagues, right? Or at least our friends, if they are more supportive, then our interpersonal relationships are going to be meaningful, is what we say to ourselves. And then if I can figure out a way to do only the things that I like and only the things that I can enjoy, then I'm okay. Then we will find more time. These are the answers we give ourselves. And to be less stressful, we say to ourselves, if I had little bit more help like they have in India, my own personal driver, my own personal cook and maid, of course, I can do even more work than what I'm doing, is what we say. Or at least if I have better assistants at work or better boss, one of the two, then we're not going to be as stressed out. So these are the possible solutions that we give for ourselves. But ultimately, all of this boils down to, we want to enjoy our lives to the fullest extent. If I can just say in one phrase, we want to improve our quality of life. We want to enjoy the life to the fullest extent as possible. So again, we are here to understand about our own mind. If I have to summarize that last slide, it is for us to understand our own minds and to train our mind and not try to change somebody else's behavior, because all that if only solution, if you had observed, it's all about others, right? So it's not about changing somebody else's behavior or changing external circumstances. Of course, it would be nice to have our own personal cook and driver and whatnot. Who would be happier? Everybody's quality of life, we think, is going to be better off. So if we keep changing, nothing wrong in changing the external circumstances, but we're not here to figure out a solution for that. But we are here to understand our own mind. Why is this mind the way it is? I know what I should be doing, but yet it is not possible to do it a certain way that I want to have my mind under my control. I don't even like to use the word control, to be honest with you. I want my mind to behave the way I want it, right? But we know how tough it is. It is not possible. So we're going to understand our mind, and we're going to see how we can train this mind to improve our quality of life. And this we're going to do in a scientific way, which means, of course, each one of us has a different challenge here, because we all belong to a different age group here, different challenges. But for this brain, for our own mind, it does not matter what challenge it is. The brain does its thing, the mind does its thing. The triggers, the causes will be different. But the way the mind behaves, the way the mind works will be the same for all of us. So that is what is common. We will see how can we understand this mind of ours and how we can train our mind in a very simple way, not just sitting cross-legged doing meditation and doing japa. If I'm sure some of you have been initiated to be doing japa. Apart from that, whatever we do, day-to-day things, is it possible to train our minds? Then we have whole day, even including while we sleep, how we get to sleep, we will be able to train our mind in such a way that anything that we do, if it is possible for us to train our mind, who wouldn't want that, right? Because we always keep giving reasons. Yes, Swamiji, I want to meditate for half an hour, but I don't get that time, right? You see, we say these things. And we want to do yoga, Swamiji, but I don't get the time. So if we can make whatever we do, any action that we do, which is nothing but action is karma, if we can turn that into a yoga, a karma becomes a karma yoga. So anything that we do, we can train our mind in such a way that any action will be a meditative experience as such. That is what it is all about. Mindful living is all about. So the flow for the next hour and a half is going to be like that, some introduction. And we're going to understand first, even before what is mindfulness, we're going to know what prevents us to be mindful. In my opinion, it's more important for us to know why is it that it is not possible for us to be mindful as we would like to be. So what is it that prevents us to be mindful? And we're going to understand in a simple manner about our own brain and our own mind. And of course, what is mindfulness and how do we train our minds by being mindful? And what are the tangible measures being mindful about? And what are the yardsticks to know? We can tell for ourselves depending on the yardstick. I'll also give you a very simple formula so that you will be able to figure out where you are on this the journey on mind training and simple practice of mindfulness. This is going to be the flow for the next 90 minutes or so. So introduction. Whatever I'm going to be sharing is all based on recent advances in neuroscience research. So we're going to know about how and what did the challenge that was given by Dalai Lama to the Western scientists, Dalai Lama's challenge to the neuroscientists, and some of the positive psychology precepts, and also about a Harvard professor by name Tal Ben-Shahar, something unique, very interesting. I'll get to that, what it is about. He's a positive psychologist. And about myself, research of N of 1 with cross-cultural experience, having lived in US for many decades and having come from Hindu, Indian background and upbringing, both, and to combine both these cultures, both at a professional level and a personal level, how I can share some of the things, what I have learned as we go along. Okay. First, about Dalai Lama's challenge to the Western neuroscientists. So, when a question was asked, and the Dalai Lama himself asked, how do we change our life? We know the first thing that comes to our mind, right? Changing wardrobe, easiest, or even before that, changing our hair color, our hairstyle, changing wardrobe, changing homes, changing cars, all of this, right? But Dalai Lama said, oh, you change your brain and you will be able to change your life. And the Western neuroscientist said, changing our brain? What are you talking about? I couldn't understand. He said, yes, of course. How do you change your brain? You change your mind and then you'll be able to change your brain, is what he said. He said, change your mind and change your brain. If something happens to the brain, the mind will change by itself, right? This is how people get into mental health problems and mental health issues. I couldn't understand because it's a couple of decades back, which is still very recent when you look at the history of research, very recent. Couldn't understand. He said, yes, it is possible. If you change your mind in a particular way, then you'll be able to change your brain. And it was tough for the Western neuroscientists to even agree to this. So Dalai Lama posed another challenge to them, saying that, look, it is possible you try it out, whether it is possible or not. If it is not possible, then I will change the Buddhist texts. And if I am correct, then you go change all your scientific texts, he said. Not only did he say that, he also sent several of Buddhist monks to the West, both Europe and US especially, who had many, many hours of meditative experience, starting from 5,000 hours to 10, 20, 30,000 hours of meditative experience. And you'll see one of the Buddhist monks here in the picture. He's actually a French molecular biologist turned into a Buddhist monk. So these monks were sent to West. And at that time, there was new technology, not just what we know about MRI and CT scan that is used as a clinical way, but these were used for research purposes, fMRI, functional MRI, PET scans, PET, SPECT scans, wherein they could look at the functioning of the brain over a period of time. And also many of them from a non-invasive manner. So they were able to also look at the functioning of the brain at different regions at one time. So scanning of these Buddhist monks' brains were done, and those scans were compared to non-meditative control groups of brains. And then when they compared control non-meditative brain scans to the brain scans of Buddhist monks, several monks were sent. Lo and behold, there was quite a bit of difference between the two. That actually showed, I'll just make it into very short and say, all that it showed is, if you change your mind in terms of mind training, not in a flippant way, I don't want to have some tea, I would like to have filter coffee, like I asked Vardhini just before coming here, not changing our minds like that, but in a highly structured, effortful, deliberate, conscious manner. If we are able to change our minds over a period of time, the structure and function of the brain itself changes. And if we need to change our lives, first thing that has to happen is the structure of the brain has to change. The functioning of the brain has to change. When I say the structure, for young kids think, oh, the shape will change. Of course not, but it's at a cellular level, at the molecular level, at the receptor level, at the level of the way the neurons fire, the electrical activity level, the way the neurons release the chemicals, at all different levels, the functioning of the brain will change, and so that the structure of the brain itself changes. So if we need to change our lives, we need to be focusing on changing our structure of the brain itself, which means we need to be, of course, there is no need for us to go and get the brains scanned so that to say, oh, compare it with before and later, no need for that. But if we are able to change our minds in a particular way, we will see what that particular way is, then we will be able to change the very structure and function of the brain. So what does mind means? It's all about our thoughts, our feelings, our emotions, our perceptions, our belief system. So if we are able to change this, our thoughts, our feelings, our memories, our perception, our belief system, then the structure of the brain itself changes. However, this is the secret behind. Until and unless all of these result in the change in our experience, in our life experience, change in our actions, change in our habits, changing in our behavior, there won't be any long-lasting changes in the structure and function of the brain. So just changing the mind is not enough. ultimately it has to result in the change in experience, which means change in our actions, our habits, our behavior. And this whole process is called neuroplasticity. And if we do this, we become what we call in Yogakshema, we all can become neurosculptors of our own lives. You know, just like a sculptor, what does he do? He just removes everything that is not needed while he's sculpting out. Unlike an artist, he takes the paint from outside and creates something new out of nothing, right? Whereas a sculptor, he removes in a huge boulder what is not, because he sees whatever he needs to sculpt out, he sees that already in there. So whatever, for example, a sculptor wants to sculpt out Swamiji Vivekananda's, the famous pose, right? Standing and with folded hands. Whatever is not Vivekananda, he removes a sculptor. In a similar way, we can remove some of the things that is not needed for us to lead a happier life, to lead a better life, to lead a life full of zest, to improve our quality of life. Whatever is not needed, if we remove all of that, we become neurosculptors of our own lives. We will see what is it that we need to remove. And you have all heard from this Swamiji, either through Patanjali, Yoga Sutras, or what do we need to remove from our scriptural perspective? They say all Arishad Vargas, right? So what is it in a scientific way? What is those Arishad Varga means? Or what is it that we need to remove from ourselves so that we can become neurosculptors of our own lives? We will see. So ultimately, just having positive and noble thoughts, that's the beginning. Because that is not going to be enough. That has to be combined with positive and noble feelings. Even then, that is not going to be enough. And that has to be combined with positive and noble experiences. And that's why, especially in Ramakrishna Ashram, the way they have made it so simple. Shivajnani Jiva Seve, Atmano Mokshartam Jagadhitaya Cha. That's through service we can easily get into this, not just having positive and noble thoughts and feelings, but also putting it into action service. So if I have to just sum up everything what I have said, you change your mind, you change your brain, change your thoughts, change your brain, change your perception, change your brain, change your attitude and change your brain, change your belief system and change your brain, change your personality itself, and so change your brain. Ultimately, all of this has to result in change in your experience, to change your brain. And that change, technical term for that is rewiring, is through neuroplasticity. So what does neuroplasticity mean? We will just look at it from an animated video, just 2 or 3 minute video, and then we will see how it works. You'll be able to see the video. Maybe just 2 or 3 minutes. If you want to come around and then stand, you'll be able to, just for a couple of minutes, that's all.
Not so long ago, many scientists believed that the brain did not change after childbirth, that it was hardwired and fixed by the time we became adults. But recent advances in only the last decade now tell us that this is simply not true. The brain can and does change throughout our lives. It is adaptable, like plastic. Hence, neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. How does neuroplasticity work? If you think of your brain as a dynamic, connected power grid, there are billions of pathways or roads lighting up every time you think, feel, or do something. Some of these roads are well-traveled. These are our habits, our established ways of thinking, feeling, and doing. Every time we think in a certain way, practice a particular task, or feel a specific emotion, we strengthen this road. It becomes easier for our brains to travel this pathway. Say we think about something differently, learn a new task, or choose a different emotion. We start carving out a new road. If we keep traveling that road, our brains begin to use this pathway more, and this new way of thinking, feeling, or doing becomes second nature. The old pathway gets used less and weakened. Process of rewiring your brain by forming new connections and weakening old ones. The news is that we all have the ability to learn and change by rewiring our brains.
They didn't have enough. But they also
you carved a new pathway in your brain and experience neuroplasticity firsthand. With repeated and directed attention towards your desired change, you can rewire your brain.
Very simple animated video that shows if we keep doing something repeatedly, even though it has been a habit earlier, it is possible to change our habits. That's why there's an adage, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, right? But science has proved that adage as false. It is possible to change anybody, anytime, as long as they are ready and they are able to do it in a consistent way. In fact, I know there is a Gade in Kannada, Swamiji. Huttu guna suttaru biduvudilla. But which means there are certain qualities, that we have those qualities when we are young, and then we die with inborn qualities, and we die with those qualities is an adage. But even that adage has been proved wrong. It is possible to change, is what it says. So that is about Dalai Lama's challenge to Western neuroscientists. If you have any questions, you can. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and then continue with the introduction. Yes. Go ahead.
Normally they say that if you do something for 3 weeks, 21 days.
Favorite question.
3 months.
22 days.
Is it 3
22 days. 22 days.
Madam, what do you say?
Exactly. $1 million question. We wish it was true, right? We can make it true. That is up to us. It all depends on one's effort and one's passion, how consistent you are, how much conviction that you have to change. There is no magic number. It says, they say in Yoga Shastra, it says 21 days it is possible. Wish life was that easy. We have tried so many times, right? It doesn't happen. Not as a blanket statement. So, there is, unfortunately, there is no quick fixes.
10,000 hours.
Yeah, I know.
Anything you practice for 10,000 hours.
That's right. It's a Western way of looking at it. I know.
10,000 hours seems too long. If it's 21 days.
Because when
So that's possible, not possible.
10,000 hours not possible. 21 days possible. For me.
21 days, 24 hours a day. Anyway, that was your question too? No, okay. Go ahead.
No, but I should probably patiently wait till you finish, or if I get my answers. But I can give you my query. Is that you said that recent monks having 5,000 hours of meditation at 20, 30, this. So will you be showing how the brain profile?
No, that is easy. You can get it easily on the internet. And there was a correlation between 5,000 hours and 25,000 hours. There were clear-cut differences, solid differences with respect to the quantity of number of hours of meditation to the functioning of the brain. What I have done, I know these are the things. And then as I go further, you'll be asking what type of chemicals are released and what not. I'll get to the neurochemicals. Even that, some of it, we can easily get it on the internet. And also it is not that simple and straightforward. It is just one study that is done. And then that is of academic interest. If we go into such minute details, and then for us, for implementation purposes, it is not going to be as useful. I can give all of that, but that will take up so much time. And the way I have synthesized is to be able to take all this knowledge that has been done already in research to be able to put it into practice in our day-to-day lives. Now, a couple of decades back, I would have been doing what you just asked back in US as an academician, giving talks at an academic level. Here, my focus is to bring that academic research for everybody to use at our doorsteps and for implementation every moment. In fact, yeah.
So is it that the challenge now being seen or verified by the neuroscientists that, okay, through mind, the brain can change. So that much they have accepted. And the corollary, are they able to also see? So now if you know the answer, that with the 30K hours of experience, the brain looks like that, can you rewire it through the engineering?
I know. Yeah.
You're only visible to ask that question after you have done for 3 hours.
We will get to that in a roundabout way, because that will be right now a distraction for us. But it's interesting. We will get to that maybe after. It's interesting though, but right now it's a distraction. It won't help us to be where we want to be. But I'll take it up in an answer later.
I think Gita Charya, Krishna tells very clearly, 5,000 years before, like, Yad bhavam tad bhavati.
Yeah.
As you think, so
as it, absolutely.
Yeah. Same thing as been.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yad bhavam tad bhavati.
No, I
No, that's.
I said that.
I know what you're saying. We will get. I know. We will talk about. I got it. Using chemicals. Can we? Yes. I know. We will get to that later. That is where, as a scientist, I don't want to go, because using technology, people are trying to do. I don't want to mortgage my brain to anybody when we can do it ourselves. That is what is empowering, We can change our thoughts and produce the chemicals that we want, rather than sometimes we need to take external chemicals when there is too much of an imbalance. Absolutely, yes. But if it is possible for us to change our thought patterns, our feelings, our belief system, starting from belief system, until and unless our belief system is changed, just changing our thoughts and mind, it won't happen. The root is our belief system. Once we change our belief system, our attitude towards that will change. When I say attitude, I'm talking from a scientific perspective, not the English parlance way of changing my attitude towards something, And then also the way we have to change our mindset and whatnot. So that is what is more empowering. I definitely, if possible, not mortgage my brain, because we can all go for hypnosis and then get, this is especially with the medical professionals, I get these questions a lot. And there is a reason for all of that. I'm not saying under certain conditions wherein the person does not have that empowering thoughts to change himself or herself, then we need to depend on external circumstances. But if we can do it ourselves, this is the one of the definitions. What I talk about is evolving means figuring out the solution that is already within us. Only irrespective of the external circumstances, if we can change ourselves so that we are not bothered about the external circumstances, that is what true evolving means. Otherwise, we will be very happy, successful, trying to adjust all the external circumstances the way we want it. That is not true evolving. That is being successful. That is being happy. That is being getting whatever we want. But true evolving is figuring out the solution from within.
Is that what you will speak on about? How to put your finger at how to evolve?
Yes. We'll get to that. We're still in the introduction part. We'll get to that. Yes.
I appreciate your comment very much. So I think going beyond the brain is something that I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
Because otherwise question comes that who controls the brain? And if you say prefrontal brain, that's well, who controls that?
Yeah. Then, that again, maybe after this, during dinner session, we can take it up. As I said, I will try to keep that as scientific as possible. In fact, I'm going to be discussing also with Swamiji on Monday, whether it is possible to do both. Confluence of science and our Vedantic scriptures too. Then we will get that. Yeah, we will definitely. That's my passion. That's my interest, and so I'm sure it will happen. So the next aspect is about positive psychology. I'll quickly go through this so that we need to understand how this positive psychology is the newest branch in psychology, neuroscience. Because it's such a common word, positive psychology, we think, oh, that has been already there. I have heard this positive psychology, something positive and in psychological branch in psychology, something very specific about this. But how it came about, let us look into that. Until recently, a lot of research was done into how the mind works in a negative way, or why does the mind work in a negative way, or all the things that were wrong. We were focusing on the negative aspect. If you look at the numbers, what you see here on the screen, 5,000 research studies on anger, 40,000 research studies on anxiety and depression, 54,000 research studies were done. When meta-analysis was done, this was what it is. But now, and slowly, that is changing. That imbalance in the history of research, in psychological research, has changed. Now, a lot more research on joy, happiness, and life satisfaction is done. Even this statistics is old. I don't have the most recent statistics yet. But now, earlier, it used to be 21:1 ratio for what does not work. Why does the mind does not work properly? We were focusing on that. But these days, thanks to Dalai Lama, there's a lot more that is being done in what works well. It's a huge step in the direction in science. And two of these scientists were mainly responsible for this, and it was Martin Seligman and then Csikszentmihalyi. They're called the four fathers of positive psychology, were the ones who started this off. And so they said it's a knowledge of what makes life worth living is what positive psychology is all about. So in other words, very simply, what is the meaning and purpose of life? Couple of decades back, if I had asked this, I would not be asking this question as a scientist. It would not have been a scientific question. It would fall under philosophy. What is the meaning and purpose of life? The existential questions to be answered would come under philosophy. But these days, now it is in the scientific arena, we are asking these questions. What is your meaning and purpose of life? This is a huge leap in the scientific field. So the contribution of positive psychology is about asking the meaning and purpose of life. Even there, they fall short when compared to what we see from the spiritual angle, from the Vedantic angle. That's a separate issue in itself. But if we just look at the meaning and purpose of life, if I say that I'm saying this or asking this question as a scientist and not as a philosopher or a seeker. So this is what actually has helped me to bring science and spirituality together, figuring out the meaning and purpose of life. This is where it led to research of N of 1. My interest was that in confluence of science and spirituality that led to this. And before that,
Sorry, I
What is this N equal to 1? What is
okay. Huh?
What is this N equal to 1?
Oh, N is the number of sample size. I was saying my personal experience, N of 1 as a scientist, I'm just saying N of 1, one person's research experience. I went through all of this, figuring out in a very structured manner, if you may say. So that is what it is. So this interesting thing is Tal Ben-Shahar. He's a professor at Harvard. He started this positive psychology course, I think more than a decade back. I forget the year he started. The first semester he started, there were about 3 or 5 students. And then second semester, maybe 7 or 8. By the time he offered this course 3rd time in a row, he couldn't hold that class in the classroom. He had to hold this class in the football fields in Harvard University. So it's just a little trivia that brings a smile on our face. And then that's how it is so popular in West, is what I'm trying to say. So if I have to just sum up everything that I have talked so far in the introduction, is Dalai Lama's challenge to Western neurosciences is simply change your mind so that you can change your brain and so change your life. Martin Seligman and Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, they're fathers of positive psychology, are the ones who ask this question in a scientific way. What is the meaning and purpose of life, human life? And Tal Ben-Shahar, most popular course in Harvard University history itself on positive psychology. And then research of N of 1, that is just at a personal level. So this became a calling for me when I was in US. So I went back to India to spread message, scientific message in a different way. So this has led to many new research ideas, whatever the work that I have done in Bangalore, which is amenable to implementation at many different levels, whether it's an individual level or in a group level. So I am just coming back from India. Just last month, we started a program to treat depression, mild to severe depression, without any medication, a holistic approach of treating depression. Again, by making people understand about how their brain works, how the mind works, because we know depression is all about imbalance of chemicals in the brain. And how is it possible to change that imbalance by just changing our thoughts, our thought patterns, our belief system, our feelings, our emotions, our perception, our attitude towards life, and to be able to develop an evolving or a growth mindset. Through all of this, it is possible to change the chemical imbalance. This is through self-directed neuroplasticity.
Are we talking CBT or are we talking something beyond CBT?
Right now, we will stick to CBT,
Okay.
and then beyond over dinner.
Okay. Cognitive
behavioral
Train. So that is summarizing the introduction that I have given. So mindfulness. So we're going to look at that as a part of mind training. Before I go into that, any questions? Quick questions? Okay. All right. This is one of my favorite quotes by Wayne Dyer, and even before him, many other people, even the quantum physicist, who is it? Forget his name. Anyway, he says, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at will change. So what do I mean by that?
Changing the outlook, changing our outlook.
Yeah, like it says on this slide. Is one thing wrong than the other? No, right? Each one is correct on his own level. That is the thing. Isn't it so? I'll show you a few more slides and then let's see. What is it? Of course, it is a duck if you see from one side. And what duck? It is a rabbit from the other side, right? No right or wrong.
That's why do they say everybody's right in their shoes? Is this derived from this?
Yeah, but if you ask Swamiji and me, we will say it's the highest Advaitic message. Everybody's
superimposition.
There is no right or wrong. There is no duality.
I know it.
Yes.
Talked about your lunch about this, yeah.
Yes, Surya.
Subjective.
Yeah.
Whole world is subjective.
Anyway, those last three slides were very easy for us to understand, right? Because there were only two choices there, right or wrong. It's very easy. But look at this. How many things can we see in that slide? Is it just two? No, more than that, right? This is how our life is. Life is not black and white. It's all shades of gray in between. Just like in this picture, unlike the last two pictures, only two choices, duck or rabbit, 3 or 4, 6 or 9, right? But real life is this. There are many things waiting to happen, many possibilities waiting to happen. This is nothing but that quantum worldview. We are used to looking at the worldview from a Newtonian perspective. Only two things, right or wrong, black or white, good or evil. Isn't it so? That's all about mindfulness, all about mind training, all about spiritual life is about, can we start seeing things differently as it is happening? We are at the stage afterwards we are able to. And even if we see at that moment, it's our ego that comes in the way, we won't be able to accept. We keep defending ourselves, right? But can we see this? Many possibilities waiting to happen in anything that we take as it is happening. This is the training that we need. It's actually a cognitive training. But that cognitive training has to result in experience. Right? Anubhava avasana, I guess, right? It has to result in experience. That is the whole idea. That is how can we change from Newtonian perspective to quantum perspective of looking at things.
So seeing different things is quantum perspective.
Different possibilities waiting to happen. What do we focus on? This is where whatever we focus on, that expands. Whatever we think, we pick only two things.
Among the two, only you tell one. Or you select one.
Yeah, we usually select one.
Okay. In quantum perspective?
There are many possibilities.
Okay.
Whatever we focus on, that expands. And also knowing fully well there are other possibilities, and any time we can also change into anything else.
So if there is a problem, we focus on that problem. are you saying that the problem will expand?
Yeah, we would like to focus on the solution. We need to make a shift. That's why I said in the last thing, we need to make a shift in the way we look at things. Rather than focusing on the problem, we should focus on the solution.
That's how we focus on a problem, isn't it? We focus on the problem with an eye on the solution.
Yeah, true. But absolutely right. But even when we focus on the problem, we somehow look at the negative aspects of it. Rather than when we look at solution, we look at many other positive things working with that.
So is it solution or opportunity you're talking about? Are you seeing a problem as a problem or an opportunity?
Oh, you make the problem as an opportunity to learn. That is that growth mindset. We need to change our mindset to
So that is the next
look
step.
at the
Convert
problem.
the problem to an opportunity.
Oh, yeah. So if I have to sum up, we've done how to improve our quality of life. And based on recent advances in neuroscience research, we saw all of this to sum up. Okay. Any questions before I go into quick one? I can go further. Yes.
Comment. There is a video which I'm sure you know, where it shows that when you focus, your brain leaves out a huge amount of information.
True.
And if one is aware of that, then you can immediately say that what you are seeing is not what may or not have happened. And this is an extraordinary thing. The video was, it's on, I'll spoil it for those who haven't seen it. You have a baseball team.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
White and black. And then we are asked to count how many times the white team had the ball. You count. And at the end, you're asked, did you see the gorilla? And then you say, no, we never saw the gorilla. And they show the video again. And in the middle of the thing, a gorilla came and was doing this.
Yeah.
It was not hidden, but the brain had left it out. It had focused.
Yeah.
And so this is something which is extraordinary.
True.
And magicians use this all the time.
Yeah.
So is this good or bad? It's bad.
No, it's what
neither.
Again, it's
There's no duality. You have to look beyond good and bad. There is something more.
No, honestly, at times we need to focus. At times we need to defocus. Both. That is where Vivekananda's statement comes about, he says, you should train your mind in such a way that you should be able to do meditation, focus for half hour, and the next moment you will be out in the market doing other work. Right? That is
detachment and power of detachment and power of
attachment. For me, it's about
if you don't know this problem, then you miss the element of
absolutely. You can miss out.
You need perspective. You have different people, and that's one way you can get out of it. You may have put yourself in a box and looking at it from a particular point of view, and this is one lesson from it.
Why don't I take that as an example? If you have seen those videos, and then say how we can implement this in our day-to-day lives.
Right.
We have a tiff. I want to say tiff, not an argument. Maybe with our teenage son or with our spouse. There will be so many good things in that person, right? But at that moment, what comes up? Everything that he or she did something wrong. At that moment. Isn't it so?
It's too fresh and the mind is.
And we have a lot of practice with that. And consistency too with that experience.
Maybe we can ask in the chat there. Is there any question for the people?
The online viewers.
For the online viewers.
Oh.
Can you try?
Oh yes, there are some. Could be recalled under hypnosis. Is there some inherent talent or quality which stays in of people generation after generation and could be recall under hypnosis. Or it is something old what we were talking about. We'll come back to that again. Is that okay, Surya?
Yeah.
All right.
If we can just tell that there's you'll deal with the question later.
Yeah.
No, I think we kind of answered with hypnosis. That's why I didn't take it up, because I couldn't. And can you read that out? Is there some inherent talent or quality which stays in the, what is that added? The people, generation after generation, and could be recall under hypnosis. Okay. That's okay.
That's okay. Right.
Oh, thank you.
That was a very good one.
Okay. Before we get into what mindfulness is, we need to know what prevents us. This is more important, because something or other we know about mindfulness. We have heard, we have done mindful breathing and whatnot. First, let us see what is it that prevents us to be mindful. Because again, this is all about science. It is common for each and everybody. So what is it that prevents us to be mindful? Again, I'm going to tell you a story. Just like what you see here, huge gathering. And one of the Swamiji's great oratory skills the Swamiji has, so he's giving a pravachana, discourse. In the middle of the discourse, he cuts a joke, cracks a joke. What is it? Cracking. Yes. Huh?
Cracking a crack.
Cracking a crack. I learned this. Irish way of saying, telling a joke.
Yeah.
Cracking a crack. So he cuts a joke. He cracks a joke, and then, oh, there will be huge laughter. And then the discourse continues. And then after 3 minutes, he cuts the same joke. And again, it was funny, really funny. And the Swamiji tells in a very nice way too. So a lot of people, again, laugh at that crack. And then he continues with the discourse. And after 5 minutes, he cracks the same crack. He tells the same joke. And always there will be some people who would not have heard it for the first time, second time, and they get it at the third time. So they laugh. And after 3 minutes, he tells the same joke, and everybody starts looking at each other. What's happening with this Swamiji? And then still out of respect, they kind of laugh at it. And after 5 minutes, he cuts the same joke again. And nobody laughs. And the Swamiji asks, why didn't you laugh? And they said, we heard it so many times, Swamiji. By then they knew there must be something, right? So they were honest and said, you said it for the 5th time. How can we laugh at that 5th time? Look, it's a joke. It's a funny joke. Still, you cannot laugh at that joke for the 5th time. But somebody has misunderstood you and have said something 10 years back. And then you replay in your mind again and again. And some of the things somebody has said, that person is dead and gone. But he or she is very much alive in your mind, and you keep repeating the same conversation again and again and again and suffer. Now, right? Why is that? Yes, I'm going to give you a scientific answer for that. This is what prevents us to be mindful, to be in the present, to be happier, to lead a life full of zest. We have everything. Whatever we dreamed about, we have even more. And we have an ashram so close by. Even spiritual angle we have. Even that is covered. But yet, We cannot be as happy as we want to be. Why? So, science says it is because of our negativity bias. We all have these biases in our brain, in our mind. And whether somebody is a saint or a scientist, professor or a student, doctor or a patient, irrespective of who it is, each and every person will have this negativity bias. We won't go into that into detail. Again, we can go into that later. But this has evolutionary significance. It's important to have this bias. It is important for our survival. For our very survival, this bias is important. But for us to evolve into better human beings, to evolve ourselves, this is what prevents us. Why evolve? Just to be in the present moment, this is what prevents us. To be happier, this is what prevents us. So, because this is so important, we will spend few more minutes on this and then go into it. Why? And how does it prevent us to be mindful? How does it prevent us to be evolving into better human beings? When we have this bias towards anything that is negative, it could be negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative emotions, negative perceptions, negative belief system, negative memories, negative experience. Our mind acts like Velcro. And to anything that is positive, could be again thoughts, feelings, emotions, perceptions, belief system, memories, experience, mindset, whatever it is, our brain and mind acts like that non-stick material that anybody can do a dosa, right? So easily. On a non-stick pan, just like that, everything gets washed off. This is how the brain and mind works. So much so, when this happens, there is so much accumulation of negativity or the negative thoughts within us. We call that as ANTs. It's an acronym, as you can see, automatic negative thoughts. In this picture, you only see one type of ant, but in reality, in our mind, there are many different types of automatic negative thoughts. We're not going to go into that detail here. That's another thing in itself. But these automatic negative thoughts, just like the real ants that we see in the picnic paper, and they come in groups, or they at home, they come one behind the other, the same way negative thoughts come one after another. Yes.
Are you implying by saying this that our brains, all our brains are conditioned only originally like this? That it attracts negativity, negative thoughts, and it does not attract the positive thoughts?
More than condition, there is a reason for it. This is needed for our survival. I'll just give you an example. Let's go back to cavemen. He had to remember from which tree can I jump, which height. Or if I take this road, I know there is going to be danger. These are all kind of for survival instinct.
Right?
Yes.
So instinct.
At that time it was needed, but now there is no physical danger, but those hardwired tracks are in our brain.
So our brain is automatically
Now
conditioned.
it is. We need to decondition it.
Like animals, like sometimes we behave instinctively. So we have to believe, we have to behave the level of intelligence. Intelligently, we have to think everything. I mean, external nature we are trying to modify, we are trying to do. Same thing has to do with internal life.
Exactly. And then we'll see where that instinct is coming from, which part of the brain, and he's talking about intelligence, which part of the other brain that comes, or mind. We will get into it.
And India adds one more part is that intuition.
Yes. Yeah, we will try and see that today or tomorrow. I forget which slide. We will cover that also.
But probably we need that still now. Like you need to know that if you put my finger in the fire, then I'll get one.
Yeah.
First time to do it, I don't know. Once I do it, then like then it's right.
Yeah.
And that's why probably as we progress, like from childhood, from the baby,
Sure.
Still evolves. But what you're saying is that when we are at a certain stage in our life, we learn most of those things, maybe not all.
Yeah.
Then we need to get rid of the negative thoughts,
Right.
which we think as some danger to us.
Yeah, much more than thoughts. Again, I will go a little deeper tomorrow again. And how forget about evolving. That is still a little bit far. Well, let us try every day, every moment. It is affecting our quality of life. It is affecting our relationships. It is affecting our health. Because tomorrow's session, we're going to be focusing a lot more on our health, how this is affecting our health.
Sorry, can I just ask, these examples that you just now used, say the example that usually talk about putting our finger in fire, knowing that that's going to harm us, we don't do. Those are the conditions that we were talking about, but we wouldn't call them negative in any case.
No, it is not.
We wouldn't call them that these are the negative
Correct.
thoughts that are getting hardwired into
True.
us.
It's a fly or free response, right?
Yeah, but I will get into more examples a little late, both today and tomorrow. Survival. Yeah. Those are
in other words,
reflexes. Those are reflexes. That's even lower than what we are saying. When I get into tomorrow, I'll go into a little bit more detail into the structure of the brain, where these ants are coming from. Reflexes are at the spinal cord level, whereas these negative thoughts are from the primitive part of the brain.
So I was thinking that, for example, okay, if something, if the lion or tiger comes in front of us, so now we know that it's only survival. So we would probably start to think whether to.
Yeah, and it's very much needed there. We need to be, it's the same part of the brain, what you gave the example, what we call it as fight response, fight or flight or freeze. Fight, flight or freeze response. It's from the same region of the brain. Our stress response also comes about. At that time, it was very much needed for the survival. But the same part of the brain gets activated when we keep saying every day, we get stressed out, trying to be on time to work. That doesn't make sense. That was for survival, but now there is no physical danger, but yet it results in stress. Over a period of time, it is affecting our health. It is affecting our relationships. It is affecting our happiness.
And it's because of the same part of the brain processing the information, which is necessary in some cases. But say like, Roy tells me something bad, next time I'll try to avoid it. Right. So that is basically because of that negative attribute I have given to that relationship.
Yeah. That's where we need to be mindful. That is and being mindful is about recognizing that is where lies my growth in that challenge, and not to avoid, but to face it in a mindful way. That is the whole crux of being mindful.
On the lighter side, if someone asks, so how to practice mindfulness on you? If someone asks, it has become very difficult. Though we all understand, it is very difficult. Then I said, now I will give 100 notes and you just count. And after counting, I ask, were you mindful or not? I mean,
that's right. We are so focused.
We give value there.
Absolutely. So if you can go further, what happens when there are too many of these ants and they go unchecked and they go unnoticed, because these are automatic, right? When they go unchecked and unnoticed, these ants, from now on, I'm going to call automatic negative thoughts as ants. They affect our learning. They affect our work. They affect our relationships. They affect our health. It affects our entire life itself. So much so, when these ants again go unchecked and unnoticed and they get accumulated over a period of time, our mind acts like a pendulum. That is, even otherwise, mind acts like a pendulum going back and forth, right? But especially when we have these ants unnoticed and unchanged, our mind goes to the past and looks at the past with regret. And the future is filled with anxiety and pessimism. And whatever is happening in the present moment is not enough. It is not satisfactory. So much so, if we have too many of these ants, it will never allow us to be in the present moment, here and now, now and here. And as you know, somebody said, how to be in the present. Mindfulness is all about being in the present moment. And with these ants, the ants prevent us to be in the present moment, here and now, now and here. Not necessarily negativity, anxious thoughts. Natural, right? Our child does not come back after 5 o'clock and then it's 7 o'clock. He has not called. What happens? We're anxious about the future. And because of the negativity bias, we only think about the negative things that could have happened.
And is this because of some association to some other incident or?
Absolutely, law of association. But this is where, when I go to the mindfulness aspect, all of this will get sorted out rather than answering it right away. Yes, it is, but no. Yes, it is, but we will see why that is. Once we understand what mindfulness is, that gets cleared up right away, sorted out. Yes. So, to be in the present moment, it's almost impossible when we have too many of these ants. And that is what happened for all of us, not just for the few of us here, entire world, because of COVID, what we're going through. Without our knowledge, in an automatic way, it has affected all of us, and righteously so, right? How else? Fear of unknown. Anxious about the future, anxious about our health, anxious about our loved one's health in some other country. How can we not? We love our people. So we have solid reasons. But without our knowledge, all of this is chewing us up. Then again, the answer is to be mindful. We will see. Keep all of this in mind, and all of this will come together when I look at mindfulness in 3 different ways. Not just one way of being in the present. We know that definition already. Other ways of looking at mindfulness, then everything will fall in place.
What do you mean by the present is unsatisfactory?
When we have too many of these ants unchecked and unnoticed, we're not even aware. That's why it's called automatic. These automatic negative thoughts, when we have too many of them, our mind acts like a pendulum going back and forth between past and future. And whatever is happening in the present moment, we are not satisfied. We are not content.
Because we're applying our mind there, because of it.
Yeah, because we're either going in the past or future. And because of the negativity, we can never be happy with what we have. We can never be grateful. And it's the same as same bank balance, same wife, same husband. When we don't have negativity, we are okay. Right? Okay. So what are the reasons we give? And we say these are the reasons, but actually these are our excuses, right? I can't help it. This is the way I am. Even my mom tells me, I'm just like my grandfather. He was so short-tempered. You're also just like that, is what our mom says, and then we believe that. So I can't help it. It is come in my genes, and we say.
So my daughter says, I am half of yours and half of mine. So I'm getting all the worst feet from both.
Great excuse, right? She does not know the other side of the debate, nature versus nurture debate. Anyway, these are, I've just listed 4 or 5. Each one of us, we can wear a t-shirt just like kids wear 101 excuses why I didn't do my homework. We have a lot more excuses why we are the way we are, or why we get so many of the negative thoughts. And yes, we cannot even blame it on genes, especially with the epigenetic research that's coming up. We know we cannot even blame it on our genes. So anyway, these are the excuses that we give.
Can I use that quote?
Yes, I don't mind. I was thinking, let me just voice my opinion.
You can no longer blame us.
One solution.
Yeah. So what are the consequences of this negativity bias or the automatic negative thoughts that we have? We end up with black and white thinking, either this or that. It's hard to see many different choices that it's right in front of us, but it's hard. And we blame others or circumstances for whatever is not happening in my life. It is because of COVID. Now everybody's answer is the same, right? It is because of COVID. So we all agree to that. And we start, absolutely not my fault. And not even not my fault, we start defending our actions. We blame on circumstances and we start defending ourselves. This is what results in illogical logic. That is what these ants do. Illogical logic. Okay, bring the chair over there. Okay. It's okay. Okay. With all of this, this is what is important. When we have too many of these unchecked and unnoticed ants, our self-awareness goes down. And self-awareness is the most important quality of a human being. It is as much important, if not more, than our discerning power, our viveka. First, we need to have self-awareness for ourselves. Otherwise, it's always like being a kid. Either your parent or your teacher telling you what to do, what not to do. Because we're not aware of our own mistakes. We don't know what is right or not. And we cannot know what we're doing. But it's for a different reason as adults. Maybe because of our ego, maybe because of our ants, but our self-awareness drops. And self-awareness is the most important quality of a human being. So much so in one of the Upanishads, it says awareness, Sanskrit word or Kannada word for that is arivu. It says in our Upanishads, arive guru. Okay.
Is an awareness.
Chittam, not chittam, chit, yeah.
Chit is awareness, consciousness.
So self-awareness is the most, because then we need to be able to know what is it that I'm not doing it right, what is it that I'm doing right, rather than somebody else pointing it out. Because half the problem is solved if we know why it is happening, and mostly when it is us, then if we admit that, half of the problem it gets solved. So that self-awareness goes down when we have too many of these automatic negative thoughts.
So even in your quantum thinking, how does it here the ants doesn't get produced there because there could be multiple ants produced.
Yeah, because
you're looking at opportunities.
Yeah, we cannot see those choices. Yeah. We only see it only our own way. And usually, because again of the bias, it's either because of fear or anxiety, we look at it in a negative way. Even if you're positive, if it is false positive is also negative.
And what do you mean with false positive? You're not convinced. I mean, you don't have the conviction in your belief. Is that what is false positivity?
Not even just conviction. Without knowing anything, we just want to be positive. Somebody asks us, okay, this is West teenagers after 18. Oh, come, let's go have a drink. Sure. You don't want to say negative to your peers. You want to be popular. And they say that is being positive for them, right? Or I myself will say, next week I'm going to run for a marathon. I'm being positive, right? Is it possible?
Not being positive without being aware of.
Yeah, not being aware of the consequences.
So is it all coming down to expectations? Thoughts.
Yeah, if you want to take the Buddhist approach, everything is about expectation. So you will never get disappointed. They don't have any expectations, right? Easier said than done. But I don't. In a way, you're saying, you might say, it won't boil down to that. We don't have to have expectations. We need to be aware of our own, how the mind works. Why am I doing this? Why am I not doing certain things? Expectations come much, much later. Usually expectations is about the other person. Right now, we are only talking about ourselves. Then it is not expectation. We want certain things. We need to have a goal. Without a goal, it's only a wish.
My point was, even within you want to be happy, you want to be all the positive thoughts, that kind of thing.
Self-expectations, expectation from self.
Rather than, because we have heard about expectations lead to disappointment. So let me not have expectations. I've been there, done that, all of that. That's why I can understand. I'm saying that. Why do we even have to use the word expectation? We can just have a goal for ourselves and work towards it. And if we have the right type of mindset, which is growth mindset or an evolving mindset, so what? I'm going to enjoy trying to be reaching that goal.
Other ways of thinking is, then there's a philosophical approach, because you expect, that's why you suffer. Like, because I have got desires of, I want this, I want that. There's a reason we suffer. There's a philosophical approach. Rather, you are speaking of whatever the ant and the consequence, all these things. I'm not expecting anything. I'm trying to understand what I am. What I should be, what I should not be, what I have to be, what I'm not to be, or what others should be. No, nothing of that. Now, just I'm trying to understand from the present thing is what I am.
Yeah, true. But even the way I say it, Swamiji, even the desires, it's not that there is anything wrong with the desires. As long as we work towards that, when we keep working towards that, we will soon realize these desires keep on increasing. There is no way I'll be able to satisfy those desires. If we don't even have desires, we won't even work towards it. Only while working towards it, we will know. We have to be content at certain stage, or we have to have those desires, get that fulfilled, knowing fully well, it will never happen. And then there will be a stage where you will be satisfied and then you will look for something more. And if we stop having, this is my personal take, if we stop having desires, we won't even desire for good things in life. We won't even try to lead a spiritual life. That is also a desire. To be better is desire, right? To be evolving is a desire. But what I say is just don't have desires, have a goal. If we have desires, we would be like kids. Either our parents or somebody else has to fulfill those desires. And in the same way, we become adults and then say we have these desires to be happier. So we want to come to ashram, we want to have Swamiji's bestow something so that we will get it without any effort. Kids get all their desires fulfilled without effort, right? From their parents. But instead of that, if we have as a goal, we will be able to work towards it. And in a different way, one of the Swamijis has said, Shraddha, a three-word definition for Shraddha. Of course, there is no equivalent English word for Shraddha. And even Vivekananda says that. But if we have to use it, belief in action is Shraddha. Belief in action. That means we need to put it into practice. Otherwise, how would I say? No, we're getting into certain areas, but I'll just say this and then because I started. English word as faith. It is just having faith on something. You don't have to put it into action. Believing is enough. Is faith for me right now, the definition. That is not enough. Shraddha is putting that belief into action. That is where we learn. Everything we learn through experience. Experience becomes our guru. So, coming back to consequences of ants, we cannot be what we want to be. Yes? Huh?
Does ant have any connection with ego?
Of course. Everything has connection with ego.
That is the basic, the base.
That is for everything.
Ego is the base.
For everything. Even for...
Yeah.
But there are, as Ramakrishna says, there is kacha ego and pakka. So we have to remember that too. It has to ripen. Ego as such is not bad. It has to be kacha ame and pakka. Yeah.
So translate what is it?
Right.
Oh.
So the consequences of having too many of these ants is we cannot be what we want to be. We have everything, but yet, if not most of the times, at times we are unhappy, even though we have everything what we want. And it causes fear, anxiety, anger, sadness, all these Arishad Vargas, what we talk about in the scriptural terms. However, what we need to remember is there is no magic pill that comes in a colored bottle that we can take it in and then get rid of the negativity. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. It is only through knowledge can we overcome this. Knowledge is the solution for that. So it's in a pictorial way I have represented this slide. We can move on, otherwise we will still be stuck with that. This is what it is. The impact of these ants, the negativity bias is with that. There is what they call it as Losada ratio. For every 3 negative thoughts, we only get 1 positive thought. And we can retain only 1 positive thought. Whereas 3 negative thoughts get stuck or retained. So you can imagine that's because negative emotions, negative thoughts are sticky.
So it's every 3 is 1.
3 to 1 ratio.
Does this change with nurturing? Because you're talking about nature of your negative bias of your brain. Even your upbringing or your nurture.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. when we are young. That is why many times I keep saying again, mindfulness practices are done in West right from kindergarten stage, 5-year-old. We're trying to do this in South Africa, Swamiji, with the kids, with the women empowerment group, even with the young kids. How do we do the mindfulness practice to be able to do that? Now we will quickly go a little bit into understanding of our brain and mind so that we can, it's all fine, but is it possible for us to do it? And so just want to convince you it is possible, because we have that capability to be doing everything what I'm going to be saying, or whatever I have said to get rid of, to be neurosculptors, it is possible. So let's briefly go over little bit about brain and mind and see. Yeah, the brain or mind has unlimited potential, How can we understand this? One way is poetry, right? It's a beautiful, there are a couple more stanzas in this. Emily Dickinson compares the brain to the sky and also to the ocean, as deep as the ocean, as wide as the sky. It's a poetic way of expressing. But if I have to give you a mathematical way of expressing the unlimited potential that we have, it makes even more sense.
Can you please read it for us?
Yeah, the brain is wider than the sky. For put them side by side, the sky and the brain, the one the other will contain. That is, the brain can contain the sky inside us with ease, and you beside, and much more. Emily Dickinson. And she compares the same thing even with the ocean. I just got one stanza of that poem. But if you have to look at it from a mathematical perspective, it makes even more sense, because it's very easy to comprehend, in numbers for some of us. We have many types of brain cells, neurons and supporting cells, different types of supporting cells, glial cells, astroglial cells. We won't go into any of that. Let's just take neurons. And if we need to, let us say, we will start counting neurons. And let us say it takes 1 second to count one neuron, right? And if I start counting all the neurons of an adult human brain, literally it takes over 3,100 years to count all the neurons that we have. These are single neurons I'm talking about. Just like one person is talking with so many people, I'm communicating, right, with so many people and many more there. Just like that, each neuron can communicate with many other neurons. Some regions of the brain, each neuron can communicate up to 10,000 other neurons. And in some other regions of the brain, where we get these ants from, each neuron can communicate from 40,000 to 100,000 other neurons. So strong.
No wonder it's sticking too much.
That is the potential that we have. And in science, there is a reason for all of this. Otherwise, we would have lost many regions of the brain, or the brain would not have been as developed when compared to our four-legged cousins. But when compared to those cousins of ours, our brain, especially the part of the brain that makes us human, is so well developed. And there is a reason for that. And the reason I say is, which has to be common for everybody, right? It is all about science. For us to evolve. Not just to make more money, not to buy another Benz. We can easily do that. I'm not saying we should not. All of that is a given. But the reason for all of this is for us to be evolving into better human beings. This is what scientists call that a psychosocial evolution. even Ranganathanandaji says that psychosocial evolution is what is needed. Unlike in other animals, the evolution was for survival. But for humans, we need to evolve not for our survival, to be fulfilled, for our fulfillment. So any work that we do with fulfillment, then we are evolving rather than for fulfillment. But of course, we need to start working for fulfillment, and that will lead to be working with fulfillment. Another aspect of brain is, maybe we don't know, brain is a biggest pharmacy that you can think of.
Just can I ask you one question? When we are aware, is this communication between neurons at its maximum or minimum or no relation?
When we are aware, certain regions of the brain.
Self-awareness.
Of course. That is, again, we're getting into a different, it will sidetrack, but I'm not going into the anatomy of the brain today. Let me try and see if I can try and address this tomorrow. Otherwise, after this over dinner, we can. Absolutely. But not the way we kind of just scientists think, not just with communication only, not just with what we think about just cognitive intelligence. When I come to mind, I will address that. I have a slide there. Okay. Another aspect of brain is it is like a biggest pharmacy that you can see, which is open 24/7, and it's open until our last breath. How and why? Because every thought we get, every feeling releases a chemical. So much so, brain acts like a chemical factory.
Coma in brain cells are dead then?
We don't know so much about what happens in coma. Not necessarily it may be dead. We have no idea, because it's not that they're dead. There is not much communication from outside. They think the awareness is still there. They're able to see, but we don't know.
So doctor gives an injection, but I'm not aware of it.
Yeah. That's being
otherwise for me, someone just even touches, immediately I get a recognition, isn't it? I recognize, my mind recognizes. There it is not recognized. What is it stopping there?
We're talking about at the sensory level. But here we are talking about just the brain releasing chemicals. To be honest with you, none of the studies have looked at, as I know, there is so much more to understand. Even not yet. And I have not looked into recent coma research. I will look into that and then get back to you on that also. Because it is possible to induce coma, Swamiji, barbiturate coma, or people become very hypoglycemic coma. It is possible to induce coma. And not even possible, it is done as a treatment. When they have edema of the brain, when there is so much brain swelling, we induce coma to be able to reduce the metabolism of the brain. So that is very different than when somebody goes through traumatic experience for some other reason. When they go into coma, we are still So this information about
Is this something connected to the Tom Sawyer's disease? And if I think of, like, I have a tummy and want to go to school tomorrow, then after a while, the chemical release will really cause some pain in my stomach.
I don't know.
Tom Sawyer's disease.
I'm not familiar with that. Can you?
Yeah, so Tom Sawyer's story actually. So every Sunday, you have to go to school next morning.
Oh,
You want to
yes,
avoid-
yes.
avoid
Yeah, I see
something,
what you mean.
you're creating your own physiological symptoms.
Psychosomatic
Yeah.
disease.
I will address that tomorrow.
Okay.
This will be addressed. Yeah, rather than preempting, it will come.
If you're saying come tomorrow, that's the.
Because that just comes under.
That is psychosomatic.
Yeah,
Psychosomatic.
Another aspect of brain that we need to understand, it works like a magician, like a genie. Actually, our brain is waiting for us to ask anything we want.
I'm not sure whether you completed the previous about the pharmacy. So what was the story about the pharmacy?
Oh, yeah. We can use this information to be able to manage our emotions.
Okay.
Because when we have angry feelings, have negative feelings or negative thoughts, it releases, I'll just say it in a general way, negative chemicals. When we have positive thoughts, it will result in positive chemicals. So anytime, this is again one of the things with CBT, if you can understand this aspect, it helps even better. So when we change or convert some of the afflictive emotions into healing emotions, we can utilize this information to be able to convert our difficult emotions into healing emotions. So brain, as I said, it acts like a magician. It's waiting for whatever we ask for. Unlike in the fairy tale, you just rub a magic lamp and a genie appears, right? Ready to give anything. But here, the only difference is whatever we ask for, we need to follow it up with action. And then the brain and the mind will listen to us. And not just once in a while it happens, more intense it is. The more intense our desire is, it is possible to do that. But desire, I'm saying in a good way.
For us to control our mind.
No, I'm saying that's why I'm saying desire in a good way. Even to be better, to lead a spiritual life, if that desire is not there, we won't be. And if it is a very weak desire, it won't happen. We need to be able to differentiate the type of desire. Now, whether it is a desire, like, for example, being on some chemicals, it makes us want more and more, or having one drink will make us want more and more. I'm not talking at that level. Yeah, I'm talking, I always feel it. We have to know, we have to have the discerning power to classify our desires and to go after the right type of desire, which is going to be both good for us and for others. Atmana mokshartam jagadhitaya cha. It has to be good for us and good for others too. That type of desire is what is needed. But usually when we say in scriptural terms, that is a desire based on, like, if I eat one sweet, I want one more and two more and four more, that will lead. I'm not talking at that level.
So is it in the case of MPD, multiple personality, so is it that your strong desire towards certain things comes out as a different personality, as in?
No, it's not that simple and straightforward there. It is many other things that are your upbringing, your understanding of the world, the way one can cognize what it is. So it is too way complicated. It's not as simple. I have made it so simple for us to understand so that we can put this into practice in a way that will improve our quality of life. If we don't make it as simple, we will never be able to have conviction to be able to try. Practicing, whether it is meditation or any kind of habit, we want to change, forming new habits, getting rid of old unwanted habits, we will never be.
The key point, you could give a command to your brain and then you could continue.
More than control, not just commanding is not enough. We need to follow it up with action.
Like for example, I want to get rid of all my thoughts. Physically, I can't act. The only way I can do that is to help. So, how do I get rid of thoughts? Right. Just an example.
It's not commanding, it's actually training our mind to be a for. Let me answer right with these next two slides. So even though there is only one mind, but for practical purposes, for us to understand and for us to put it into practice, we will say there are two types of mind. Okay, habitual mind and willful mind. Habitual mind is, other names for it is emotional mind, unconscious mind is what very simply in Sanskrit we can just call it manas. Whereas willful mind or conscious mind, rational mind, deliberate mind, we can call that as buddhi. So when you say command, we are using the buddhi, the mind, to have command over the manas mind, the habitual mind. In English, mind is no separation between mind and buddhi. In Sanskrit, it is much easier. Habitual mind and then conscious, willful mind, rational mind. No, that's it's an old way of classifying, kind of obsolete right now. But for all practical purposes, for us to understand, we still use it. Yeah, this is where we need to integrate, not just right brain and left brain, top brain and bottom brain, and then whichever way, all sides of the brain we need to be able to use in the right manner. Again, this I'm going a little deeper tomorrow. I'm not asking anybody to come, but because for today's this was enough. That is why I've just touched upon it. I'm going deeper tomorrow, and each one will stand alone by itself too.
Divide arbitrarily, like the motor cortex might have some rewiring with occipital, for example. Motor cortex.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, no, that type of, there are many different ways of classifying the brain, but I will take the simplest of simple brain classification. So right from a child to a doctor and a scientist will be able to use it for implementation purposes, keeping implementation purpose in mind, not in an academic perspective. Because in US, not in India, in US, neuroanatomy is done for one whole semester.
And what is the role of saturated fat in all these things?
What
they
is
say that the effect of saturated fat. They say they have.
Okay, that is.
Tomorrow's tomorrow. Tomorrow's tomorrow.
Hey, you are a studious student. You probably have seen the presentation.
Saturated fats and trans fats.
No, mindfulness. I'm especially asking that.
We will talk about now nutrition aspect. I would like to answer tomorrow because that comes under self-management. I'm taking different angles of self-management because I don't want to jump and then it will be complete distraction. I want to focus right now. We will talk about that tomorrow because it will be a total distraction. I will like to take a call on that to answer tomorrow. So, okay. So what is mindfulness? We'll see. Finally, we're coming to that, right? Okay. We take all of this and I say yes and much more. And yes, we have seen all of this and I say yes and much more. Okay. We can be mindful doing all of this and more. So what is it? We will take mindfulness as 3 different ways of looking at it. This is the standard definition that you have read, you have seen, you can get it on internet. It's John Kabat-Zinn who came up with this definition, which is, you probably cannot see, I will read that out to you. It's bringing one's complete attention to the present experience, whatever is happening, on a moment to moment to moment basis in a non-judgmental way. If I have to put this, I'll make it simpler instead of that whole sentence. All you need to do, remember about mindfulness, 3 things. Present moment, here and now, the present. Paying attention, focusing, concentrating. Now you see why I always say wherever I go to any educational institution, I stress upon this for the educators. Start using the term be mindful for the students, not just for the students, for all of us, rather than focus, concentrate. We say, keep focusing on this, concentrate on that, learn to concentrate even more. That is paying attention. Paying attention in a particular way. What that particular way, I'll say in a second. But being mindful about anything is much more than focusing, is what I'm trying to say. So 3 things: being in the present moment, focusing, fully focused in a particular way. Which way? Being non-judgmental. Like your kids, I'm so glad I don't have to study math. I'm going to take totally different topics next year, is what they say. That is while doing math. That is being judgmental. Like any like a student studying a subject that he or she doesn't like math. Most of the kids don't like math. Oh, I'm so glad this is the last grade I'm going to be studying math. I don't have to think about it next year because my major is going to be English. He's focusing, but in a judgmental way. So being mindful is about focusing and he's also thinking about future next year. He's not in the present moment, but focused. So another way of looking at it, both body and mind together in the same place. Otherwise, we are studying, we're thinking about next year. The time is gone for next year. Both body and mind together in the same place at the same time is this. Now we know why we focus on breathing. Breathing is the bridge, breath is the bridge between our body and mind. This is the secret. Any time mind goes berserk, very intense emotion, whatever, positive, negative, it doesn't matter. Right away, you want to calm your mind. All you need to do is to focus on your breath. Breath is the bridge between body and mind. Suddenly the mind calms down. The way to use this mindfulness is, if we practice mindful breathing, even as simple as just 5 minutes a day, that is enough. Consistency is important, and sitting in the same place at the same time, even for 5 minutes, minimum of 5 minutes is enough. But consistency, when we practice this mindful breathing over a period of time, then we will train ourselves to focus just on 3 breaths, and even single breath is enough to bring our emotions under our control. And I don't like to use the word control, to train our mind to manage our emotions with a single breath is enough. That consistency is important. Consistency, consistency, consistency. In Sanskrit, Abhyasa, abhyasa, abhyasa. That is one way. So it is all about training our mind to be in the present moment. Not worry about the fourth wave that is coming up. That does not mean we are ignoring, we are escapists. Whatever needs to be done, we have to do. That's a different thing. But to be focusing on the present moment, that does not mean we cannot learn from the past, does not mean we cannot plan for the future. I'm not talking at that level. Any time to be focused in the present moment is to be. This is what mind training is. Yes.
Question. So, for example, when we listen to something, there's an objective always, right? So, in other words, I'm listening to get a mindfulness, and I want to be non-judgmental, but at the same time, when I listen to you, right? And the objectivity of that listening is to figure out and refer and infer some information that is useful. So that is something synthesis which I have to do. So what do I do with that? If I'm non-judgmental, I'm listening to you in totality, right? How do I bring that and then utilize it, being non-judgmental?
Yeah.
Yet not having the brain to that thinking part of how do I do that?
Great question. This is where I said in the beginning, let's empty our teacup. We all know what mindfulness is in our own way. Let's set that aside, and then as a beginner's mind, like a child, if you are educating a child about whatever numbers, let us say, or any foreign language for that matter, the child does not know whether it is a different language, or whether it is English, whether it's my mother tongue, does not know. It is our notion about, oh, this, we label things, right? For a child, everything is the same. And so the child will have beginner's mind. Like that, not just for this talk, anything we learn, if we have that beginner's mind, we will be able to absorb. Otherwise, especially as adults, the way we learn is from known to unknown. From known to unknown. And our known is unlimited. Unknown is huge, right? And we are limiting ourselves in trying to absorb things.
The other way, probably, I was thinking that how to be non-judgmental at this present moment when I'm listening to your lecture. Probably we should not compare. Generally,
right.
Knowingly or unknowingly, consciously, unconsciously,
correct.
Our mind it is bound to compare things. Things. Maybe you, like for an example, I've heard 2-3 talks. So unconsciously, my mind will be comparing your talk, present talk with the earlier talk.
Correct.
Or I have heard someone's talk on mindfulness. So I'll be comparing your talk with him. Or same idea, maybe in some other subject someone has told. We compare like that.
Correct.
So like this, generally we keep on comparing. So probably stopping comparing can be the non-judgmental. The second thing is not to be too much analytical. Analytic about the subject, analytic about the concept, fine. Not about the analytic about the person.
Yeah, absolutely. That is being non-judgmental. Absolutely.
Yeah, so as a child, let's say, I want to inquire, as you said, language, English, maths, etc. That's fine, it's okay. Yes, I need to learn to be able to experience stuff. Perfect. So let's say I'm listening to you and something very important going on here. I want to be not judgmental, give you full attention. But my objective here will be to get out something. Yet I don't want to be non-judgmental. Yet I don't want to be judgmental. At the same time, I need to get something out without racing through everything in my mind.
Correct.
So how do I do that?
What do you mean by judgmental?
Understanding and judgment. No, what I was trying to say is whenever you listen to something, parallel to what you are listening, your mind is processing it as well to understand it. So you are trying to learn from it. And
but by judgment, we're not judging. When we're learning or trying to understand,
I don't say we are judging.
Now, when I say non-judgmental, it's not about when we judge, we only have limited facts. And based on limited facts, we come to huge conclusions. That is being judging. That's not what I'm saying here. Without any of that, just putting any value to this. Oh, her accent, her looks, all of this, the mind distracts, right? Or as Swamiji said, I heard definition of mindfulness in a little different way, but she's saying in a different way here. The next two definitions I'll bring in, and then you have no, usually that is not what we hear about mindfulness. For implementation, I've brought in a different, I never heard this like this. This is not mindfulness. Mind goes right away. That is judging, is what again Swamiji said.
Yeah, but at the same time, when you're explaining this, some concepts are very, very difficult to understand, and you have to bring some association, right?
Correct.
But the problem there is, instead of concentrating right there, right now, I am going out trying to association to understand.
To understand.
How do I stop that?
When you know the mind has gone out, focus on your breath and bring the mind back right here. Because the mind is looking for somewhere else. Where, when did I hear, where did I read, all of that. The mind is elsewhere. Then you need to bring that mind back to your body level. Be in the present.
It reminds me of a joke. One of the spiritual aspirants, after taking guided meditation class, when I was discussing what is the impression, how did you feel? One fellow said, Swami, when you were speaking about mental worship, when you said that you offer flowers to chosen deity, then my mind immediately went to market to purchase a flower. I started remembering the person and had a joke and had a thought. I forgot what I said.
That is how mind is. Who is it? It says that is monkey's mind. I always say, from monkey's mind to monk mind.
Not the EY.
Sorry, Judgmental is supposed to be saying that not setting any a priori reference to something.
Say that again.
Not setting any a priori reference.
Yeah.
But you are not asking that not to be critical in the sense of.
Oh, no. When you learn, you have to be critical. Absolutely.
So what I was confused if judgmental means to
Critical
be critical.
No.
So you can compare and contrast
Absolutely. To understand and to be critical, to ask questions, not just to accept. Absolutely. Yeah, thank you.
And not to go over there.
Yeah.
Keep the questions and ask them.
No, I mean, if you ask me like something.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Breathe back. That's the
presence.
How are we doing with time? Little bit.
I don't know how much you have. A lot left tomorrow.
Yeah, we just started mindfulness, right?
Yeah.
At 6 o'clock we started mindfulness. That's
Yeah.
it. We
Oh,
just like-
what
How much
I have no
time
time. Let me see. That's what I'm trying to see. Oh, we're going to be done in about 10 minutes.
Oh,
Is that okay?
Done it. So that's we are in time. 6:30.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Why don't we do this? I will complete 3 ways of looking at mindfulness, and then we can take up questions. Then I will be done in 10 minutes. Is that okay?
We want to give some time. There are 3 questions on the chat. I'm not sure whether they're.
Oh,
I think it's our fault. You're not asking too many questions.
So there are questions directly.
Yeah.
No. They are sending to promote to me. So they are sending to her directly, not to
oh. When you say we control mind, who is this we as per science? Your question too. Is there some inherent talent or quality which stays in the DNA of the people generation after generation and could be recalled under hypnosis like languages? Okay, we're not going to get there.
The science believe in soul.
So we will defer that. right now for the time being, because it's not directly related. If we have time, we can take that up. One quick thing for the last one: does science believe in soul? Scientists believe in soul, but science we don't have anything to say.
At last, the presentation is mindful.
Yeah.
or even the mind, madam. Does the science believe in mind?
Of course.
So, okay, we can answer there. I think somebody is asking.
Yeah, of course.
What is the proof? Like, how do you define the mind from the science perspective?
Pramod, can you speak a bit louder, please?
Pramod, can you speak a bit louder?
How do you define the mind from a science perspective? Like, there is nobody has seen the mind. How do you prove the existence of a mind?
Yeah. Okay. Why don't we wait until a few more slides, and if it's still not answered,
under the purview of science.
Science.
Only physics, chemistry, biology, or psychology is also included.
and I'm not a psychologist, I'll bring a neuroscience perspective, so it's going to be totally different. Anyway,
I think Pramod, I think she's going to address in a few slides now.
Okay, yeah, perfect.
I noticed that in the Zoom, it has gone to the different settings, so we can, at least for their benefit, we should switch to.
That's better. Now it is better.
Yeah, it's better.
Right? So the next way of looking at mindfulness is, as I started in the beginning, mindfulness is also a way of looking at things. If we change our perspective, whatever we look at will also change. So if we keep seeing the same thing again and again the same way and expect different results, it will never happen. And that's what Albert Einstein says. You keep doing the same thing again and again, you expect something else different. It's called insanity. Yes, madness. It's called insanity, right? So how can we look at something from a fresh perspective? This sometimes this is the toughest part of mindfulness, this definition. In other words, it's a way of seeing things, it's a way of seeing people, it's a way of seeing circumstances and situations as though you're looking at it for the very first time. It is hard, but if we can do this, it is very powerful. Then there are no preconceived ideas, there are no preconceived notions and no biases based on the experience. Because as you were saying, everything is based on the experience. We are like this because of what has happened earlier, right? So we say, oh, you have to be careful with this person. They will say yes, but never on time. They don't know to say no. They will keep saying yes, but we cannot count on them because it's based on experience, right? But yet, can we start seeing everything as though it is happening for the very first time? And I tell you, this is the hardest, but if we can train that, our mind to do that, it is going to be, we'll have a very powerful response. In other words, except some youngsters here, all of you are married. It's almost like looking at your spouse as though you looked at your spouse for the very first time, even before your wedding. How wonderful it was, right? Can we keep doing that again and again every time?
So she's looking.
Are you trying to make that?
I just answered.
Body language.
I thought you slept.
How tough it is, but if it can be done, it will be wonderful, right? But at least we need to know, at least certain times, if we train ourselves to do that, it will be wonderful. Yeah. That means every time we're giving the other person a benefit of doubt, an opportunity to correct herself or himself. It is tough, but it can be done. And at least at times, if you can do that, I think it will be a great way. That's why it says, you cannot make the same mistake twice, you know. First time it's a mistake because we did not know. The second time you make it, it's no longer a mistake. It is a choice that you have made. But you have to be aware though. That awareness has to be there. Then second time, it's not a mistake. And third time, it would have become a habit. That's why I keep saying, keep making newer mistakes, not the same one again and again and again. If we keep making the same mistake, we're not learning. At least if we make newer and newer mistakes, we will learn from it. So to change our perspective, see. Again, if you look at it from one side, it is 6. Other side, it is 9. Why should it be always his way or her way, my way or your way? Can we make it my way and your way? Can we make it our way? These are the different possibilities. It's also being mindful. Right? From one side, it looks like 6. From the other side, it is 9. Huh? Yeah. Now you do, right? Now you do. From that distance, you cannot see that it's not clear. Yeah, I know it's not clear at all. Third way of looking at mindfulness. This is the most important, if you ask me, and it can be easily done. And if we completely believe in this and agree with this definition, it has so much opportunity. Anything that we do, we can convert it into a mindful way. Because all of us have, oh, I want to be doing these things, but I have to do these things, right? That's why I cannot do what I want to do. And we have a clear divide between I want to do and I have to do. I know I want to do meditation, but I have to get ready or get the kids ready to go to school. So I don't have that time in the morning to do meditation. We have this clear-cut divide. That divide has to go away. There should not be any divide between I want to do and I have to do. That's where, for me, that Nike commercial, just do it. Just do it. And now let's put this into other chores at home. Taking trash out, right? On a certain day, I have to do, but I want to be doing something else. And the spouse has to say, 4th time we will do it. We'll keep forgetting it.
So everything we have to do, is it? There should be no want to do.
Or everything should be want to do, not have to do. Yeah. We should convert it into want to, we would like to do. So we should convert it into want to do, I want to do, I want to do. At the level of what we have to do, the end result is we have to be doing, yes. But that have to do should become I want to do, so I have to do.
So because of liking, I do. I like and I do.
I like, yes.
Have is the with compulsion.
Compulsion.
Yeah.
That has to go away. Just do it. So many times we say, oh, I have to do this. What? I have to do it, right? 2. So what? I'll do it.
Yes, what to so what.
And the same way, why me? So why not me? Okay.
What was in the right side of the previous one?
Huh?
What was in the right side?
Oh, just quote, tension is who you think you should be, and relaxation is who you are. You just be. Just be. So to conclude, emotions are not facts. We're doing all of this for mind training, right? We need to be able to manage our emotions, which comes from our mind, habitual mind. I will call that as lower mind. And they're not facts. Emotions and feelings are not facts. So we need to be using our buddhi to look at it in analytical way, rational way, logical way, to be able to analyze and address that. So when we are doing mindfulness practice, it is the region of the brain that is unique for humans is what is being used for. The function of the part of the brain that makes us human is a whole lot more when we are mindful. It's usually the prefrontal cortex, right? So, and painful emotions arise from one's beliefs rather than from the reality. So another way of looking at mindfulness is to accept the reality as it is, not the way I want it to be. And it is the distorted perception of the reality that hurts us much more than reality itself. Because we perceive it based on our biases, based on our experiences, based on our past experience, based on our biases. So instead of that, if you look at the reality as it is, I think it is the way to be mindful.
Does it have any conflict with the imagination?
No, that is totally different. Imagination. Imagination is another most beautiful quality that humans have, not animals. It's beautiful.
But
very powerful.
Is something to do with the emotions, right?
Not necessarily. No.
No?
No. Not necessarily. Yeah, you can imagine to feel something. I'm not talking at the feeling level. Imagining something that is not there, being creative. It is
rather, there are two sets of meaning which we use from our usage. One imagination is, as you said, it's a creative force. Like an artist, he imagines and he draws a painting or he writes a poem. And the other imagination, because we imagine so many things. He is like this, she is like this.
That is not
imagination. The word is like this, etc. That's why we suffer. There is sort of it is of judgment mixed with emotion.
Right. That I would not call it imagination. We are being judgmental there.
No, but I wanted to ask about that creative part. You were saying that should not be emotional and not.
I'm not saying it's not, when shouldn't be emotional. This is we need to be able to combine our rational thinking with the right emotions. In other words, we need to look at our emotions from a cognitive manner, because emotions are colored by our biases.
Perceptions and judgments.
Yeah.
Emotions are clouded by those two
biases, because they're not facts. Emotions are not based on facts. That's why it's not right or wrong. If I say I feel like this, if you do this, it's not right or wrong. about feelings, but we still need to pay attention to the feelings and emotions, very important. But we need to have the distinction. They're not facts. I'm feeling like that, but they're not true. Another thing I forgot to mention, I'm glad you brought that up. Most of the automatic negative thoughts are not true. They are false. And those thoughts get converted into feelings.
And emotions.
Yeah, emotions and feelings are expressed at the level of the body. So mindfulness can radically transform emotions because so you accept the reality as it is, not the way you want it to be. So I've looked it into 3 different types of definitions of mindfulness. If you just look at mindfulness as a tool, it's only about being in the present moment. But if we have to make it as a way of life, that was the whole idea, to make mindfulness as a way of life that we can use on a moment-to-moment basis with whatever we are doing. So looking at those 3 definitions that we said, the first one is about being in the present moment, one-pointedness, being in the now, the understanding the connection between mind, body, and our behavior. And seeing things as though it is like the first time is to be aware of our own emotions, our feelings, our biases, our perception, and accepting the reality as it is and just do it. That is the 3 tips to convert mindfulness, which is just used as a tool, wherever we see it is used as a tool, to a way of life. So what are the tangible measures? These are the ones. You'll have better control over emotions, decreased rumination, the repetitive thoughts, and better increased self-awareness. You'll have improved working memory. There are a lot of studies that have been done that improves memory, it improves concentration power. Less negative emotions and more positive emotions, reduced anxiety and depression. And there is a lot of cognitive flexibility, more focused, lot more concentration. Then with little time, we can do a lot more things, being more productive, and decreased negative reactions, negative reactivities. Suddenly we react in a negative way, right? And being mindful, it reduces that. So what is the yardstick for that? Again, self-awareness is increased, and then we move from being reactive to being proactive. And mental automatism, the lot of things we do it in an automatic manner without really thinking about it. So mindfulness is coming out of automatism to deliberate, conscious, and willful ways of thinking and making decisions rather than making decisions in an automatic manner. And it helps in shifting with our worldview, knowing that there are many different possibilities waiting to happen. And most importantly, it ends suffering. Suffering, I'm not using the word in an English parlance way, in a scientific way. Any, what you call kirkiri or little things we suffer, right? It's not major things. We have everything. Usually when we say suffer, oh, I don't have this, I don't have that. That's why I need more to get this, to get that, none of that. But very small things, little things, it affects us. That is what we call that as suffering. So for this, the yardstick is, if you have to remember, FIRF stands for frequency. think in India, this is called first investigation report. Yeah, that's why I use that. So F stands for frequency of our negative emotions or negative reactions. So the frequency of such occurrences will decrease. I stands for intensity, the intense emotions, negative emotions or positive emotions. Any negative emotion, especially the intensity, reduces. And R stands for recovery time. Even if we get it, we'll be able to come out of it in a much faster, quicker manner. So these are the yardstick, as I said. Ultimately, how to practice the beginner's mind or just simple mindful breathing. Be alone for at least 5 to 10 minutes with your thoughts and your breath. Keep bringing the focus onto your breath in a kind manner, in a gentle manner, in a loving manner. Just keep bringing the focus onto your breathing. But try and do this at the same place, same time every day. Again, law of association helps there. And that helps. And that consistency is very important. And be with the thoughts without judging them. Let the thoughts come and go. No need to have no thoughts. That is the yogic way. The Advaitic way or is the Vedantic way is let the thoughts come and go. Just witness the thoughts. No need to control the thoughts. If we don't react to those thoughts, just witnessing is enough. It will lose its power. It will just pass, witnessing. And then witness your thoughts. Just doing this is enough to practice beginner's mind. So we can try.
Can you please go back to that? Yes.
Okay, so there is a question, why good people suffer more?
This is the last life, is that
I don't know who asked that question. There is in the chat.
You need an answer?
I think they asked the question, so hopefully.
Layers and layers. It can be answered in many different levels. I will ask Swamiji. Yeah.
It is of course rational also, even jokingly also, because our balance sheet and God's balance sheet doesn't tally. That's why we have got this problem. The way we call suffering, and the God says that no, there's a teaching for you to come up in the life. So what we say is again is a perception. It's only perception as a suffering, but it's not. It is an opportunity, or rather to understand the transitoriness of the world, the other things, to come away, to get away from this, or still from the personal development angle, if you want me to say that, the sufferings, difficulties makes us strong, makes us to go more further, more forward.
Yeah.
Swamiji, why good people suffer more?
My answer.
Now there's good duality.
Yeah, from that
No, my answer is different.
Are you also like Swamiji?
I will say this in one sentence. It is what prevents us to be better. So when we suffer, we learn faster and we learn more. So to be better people is why we get it. That's in a lighter manner. But truly, good is what prevents us to be better. We are in the comfort zone.
Yeah.
Good is what prevents us to be better.
Yes, to support your philosophy is a little joke. The one master was coming down the stairs and he slipped a few steps and just came rushing down, and he was badly hurt and he was very sorry. And the servant said, "But you have come faster."
What you said, what you mentioned was the nutritional impact. And does nutrition have an impact on the, say, prefrontal or human behavior?
No studies have been done, but I can talk in a general way.
But I give up the cancer cells and things like that, but I'm normal.
Yeah. More than nutrition, fasting has even better effect on. Yeah.
Fasting has.
Fasting,
Fasting
absolutely.
has good effects.
And now science has been proved. Nobel Prize, Japanese scientist.
What is the advancement in the medical research for the soul in the metabolism?
None.
Metabolism and soul.
None. Okay.
Wow.
There are more questions coming there. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I would like to thanks a lot of participants where we are in offline and as well as online. Though when Dr. Usha called me and she asked whether since she's coming and she would like to meet me and she would like to discuss few points, philosophical points with me, as well as if people are interested here, she's volunteered to have this session. I did say yes, but in my mind I had a fear, a phobia, I can say. Again, judgmental again. It is. That how to get people. So how to get people? Because yeah, if I get like in a single digit or 4, 5, 6, 8, then I make a sorry picture for her. She's coming all the way from India and Dalai, but still probably and God dependence. And I thought, let me have a try. For that, we have got a good number of people in our online and as well as offline. So first, my thanks for all the participants and for your patience hearing. Of course, from my Mysore days, I know Dr. Usha, she had come and she also had addressed our youths. And of course, she has addressed a lot of our devotees and youngsters in many of our branch centers of Ramakrishna Math Mission in India, as well as in abroad, like South Africa, USA and all. So this is the first session our Dr. Usha we had. And how session is wonderful and how session is and all. Probably you people are the witness for that. I need not to explain further. Only tomorrow again, we have got a workshop from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on body-mind well-being. The present science is telling that instead of having a medication, if we change our lifestyle, if we change our food style, if we change our attitudes, perceptions, then we can have a better health. Holistic wellness we are speaking about today. So the concept of medicine has changed from the science perspective. So probably from that perspective, how to have a healthy body and healthy mind so that we can have a healthy life, cheerful life. That is the central theme of tomorrow's workshop. So I invite and I welcome all the participants today who have come today, and you can bring more people in person and also in the online for tomorrow. That's 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Irish time, because it's a lot of the people across the globe you are getting. So the 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., which time it is? It is Irish time, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Again, from the bottom of my heart, I thank Dr. Usha for this wonderful session. And I welcome all of you, and we shall meet tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you. Jai Ram Krishna.